Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider Bill Ryder. After the 9-10 matchups in the East and West, you're feeling good. You're feeling strong.
Man, here's some NBA insider info for you. Those teams are dynamic and amazing.
Man. I love the concept. Conceptually, I love the idea of the play-in tournament. These were not, save one of the games, which was last night between the Grizzlies and the Warriors. These were not good games. I hate to do the Shaq thing where I'm like, man, this product is no good, but those were not good games.
I mean, in this case, you're accurate, though. That's not a Shaq thing. I mean, you're just telling it.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree that the Warriors game was fantastic and today's games were not. Later in the show, we'll do the 9-10 play-in game between the Bulls and the Heat briefly, and I guess we'll do team of the night. But first, we just wrapped up the 9-10 game between the Kings and the Mavs. The Mavs are marching on here, Bill. I don't know. It was a weird game. There's weird vibes in Dallas anyway. I want to get into GM Nico Harrison having this closed door press conference and talking about no regrets and the whole bit. The Mavs, who don't have any shot creation now that Kyrie is down. And when they did have him, they just basically had Kyrie, ran out a lineup of Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Derek Lively. I mean, I can't believe they didn't start Gafford too, but they ended up throwing out Klay Thompson, who I guess they were just like, Klay, you're our only guard and shot creator. He actually played pretty well, but Bill, I mean, I don't know. This was not a good game. The Kings did not acquit themselves well. They don't play any defense whatsoever. It's been a bad season in Sacramento.
I mean, back-to-back nights of watching teams play for their season give up 60-plus points in the first half of those games. I mean, it's been So here was my main takeaway from this game, John. We were watching two teams that are so poorly run and have very little promise probably going forward. Maybe there's a reinvention for Dallas if I don't buy this, but if Kevin Durant wants to be a Maverick. And the Kings have been doing this for 20 years. It's been sort of different names, different ownership, two different owners that have sort of rotated in and out. The Mavs just did this to themselves. I mean, as much as the game was ugly, so it's just the sort of near-term reality for each of these teams. It's not as if, like the Chicago Bulls, right, who we're going to talk about. I'm not saying they're going to win an NBA championship for 2 or 3 years, but they're going a little bit younger. They've got a decision to make about Josh Giddey, but there's reason to be kind of excited about the way they play basketball in their future. Both the Kings and the Mavs are bad teams. It was a bad game, and they're in very different ways. They're just poorly run organizations.
The Mavs, they had about 40 shots during the broadcast of Nico Harrison sitting there looking quite stoic. They're moving on to play the Grizzlies. Do you want to do the basketball side first, or do you want to do the Nico Harrison side first?
Let's do the Nico. I think it's more interesting, frankly.
This is way more interesting. All right, so Nico Harrison decided to hold the closed-door press conference. No audio allowed. Or they weren't allowed to play the audio. You were allowed to record it, but you weren't allowed to play the audio, and no video. So he didn't evidently, according to reports, he evidently did not want to do this and was forced into doing it by ownership. It was kind of like an exit interview, like post-season, after your season is wrapped and you've been eliminated, press conference that GMs tend to do, coaches tend to do. They made him do it before the play-in. The timing was awfully curious, and there was all kinds of things that popped up on this. Like, I guess Patrick Dumont, the new governor for the Dallas Mavericks, forced him into doing this. But things that he said about, he was asked, do you have any regrets about trading Luka? No regrets. Not surprising. Countless times he said defense wins championships. Bill, here's one that I loved. My obligation is to the Dallas Mavericks. It's what's in the best interests of the Dallas Mavericks, and that's the most important thing. Some of these decisions are going to be unpopular, maybe to Dirk, because Dirk has been vocally against trading Luka, thinks that Luka was going to be the new Dirk, and so he was up in arms about it. But anyway, said might be unpopular to Dirk, and maybe some fans may be doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, but my obligation is to the Dallas Mavericks. Do you think he's tone deaf, or do you think he knows what's happening? He's just like, I gotta double down, triple down, quadruple down on this thing.
That one. And I think the reason you know that he knows what's happening is the report from Shams that he didn't want to be doing that, because that is not being leaked by Dumont. That's not being leaked by billionaires who live in Las Vegas. That's not being leaked by Jason Kidd, who probably is not getting maybe the blame he deserves here and just sort of keeping his head down. It's being leaked by Nico Harrison, right? Or someone close to him. And so, I think it's a really good question. I think he's well aware it was a terrible decision, whether he made it or not, or as you and I talked earlier, what piece of the pie you thought he deserved a big bib and some milk, and the blame pie, you think he gets a big piece, and you're probably right. No, I think he knows that, because not only, and this is a GM told me this, but it's obvious, but I hadn't thought of it this way. The problem for Nico is he has so tarnished his reputation in the trade that he made, and maybe more than that. because Joe Dumars has a job now, and I like Joe, and Joe was great while he was great, but had several bad years as a GM in Pittsburgh or in Detroit. You can usually come back, but one of Nico's colleagues pointed out he's not coming back. He has tarnished his reputation. He's become a punchline. He's not taken seriously. He couldn't even handle the sort of messaging and the fallout properly. He's alienated legends, and now he's sort of doubled down on Dirk. And so I think he knows, John, it's a problem. And I think he probably knows, man, this is my only time in a job like this. And desperate people sometimes act desperately and bizarrely.
Well, he was asked about his job security, and he's convinced that he's not going anywhere. He said that I have 3 years left on my contract and I see myself finishing it out. Okay. I mean, you better hope that, there was a report today that they're hopeful that Kyrie is going to be back by January, maybe even sooner. Yeah. You better hope that he, I don't know, gets an ACL transplant or a leg transplant or something and comes back ready to begin the season, because you're going to need every bit of Kyrie and every bit of Anthony Davis next year. Bill, this press conference, I encourage everybody, the full transcript is online. You can go find it.
It's insane.
It is remarkable for so many different reasons. I've been in, as you have, Bill, a ton of press conferences in my life. And I can remember a lot of combative ones, especially in Philadelphia, when Sam Hinkie signed his manifesto and decided to leave because they had 2 Colangelos were foisted upon him. Man, the knives were out for Josh Harris and the ownership group. But I'm telling you, Bill, I don't know that I've ever read anything that was as aggressive from the media to a front office or coach member right off the bat as this one. Can I just read you the very first question? It was, it blew me away. The very first question was from ESPN's Tim McMahon, who
he did a great job.
He did a great job. He went at Nico over and over again. The very first question was, you've got an outraged fan base. It's been outraged since the day you made the trade. The overwhelming majority of your fan base says they want you fired. How do you respond to that? And why do you believe that Patrick Dumont should not take them up on that? Wow. That's the first one.
Can I circle back on his point and what you said about he thinks he has job security? Mark Cuban also thought from the same ownership group he was going to run basketball operations forever.
Yeah, fair point.
Hey, Nico, they're not you don't have any control over this. Yeah, the grilling that the media did and that Tim did in particular, it's beautiful in part because this guy, I know that Nico spoke the day after I think the trade was February 2nd. The day after the trade, he did a sort of quick press conference. Then he's vanished. I mean, we've seen him kind of hiding and looking furtive, and this is the first time that someone's able to channel all of the rage and anger and frustration, and I think legitimate just sort of frustration. And he did not have – you've known for 2 months. It's 74 days this was coming. Yeah. And he didn't have the right answers prepared.
Yeah, he had no answers. He just kept repeating over and over and over again that defense wins championships. So I guess okay, maybe, but it's not going to win you anything this year, and it's probably not going to win you anything next year. So I don't know where that leaves you on you've got 3 years left on your contract. Now, I will say this. Yeah. He brought up some points that I think, in fairness, that we should concede here, because he was right about something. He said, when I traded for Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, everybody said it wasn't a good trade, and that worked out for us. He was right about that. Those were good trades. He also said when they traded for Kyrie Irving, he got excoriated, and that ended up working out for them because Kyrie has been a very good player for them in the Dallas Mavericks. He's right about
context, John. Sorry to jump in. That's because he didn't recognize what Brunson was. I mean,
fair.
I mean, there's
the Grant Williams trade was not the Grant Williams component was not good. Now, all of that said, even though I agree with him on the ones that he singled out as saying he got killed for it and they ended up working out, that is so hugely different than trading the franchise, the face of the franchise, who's 25 years old, and at 25 years old had made first team All NBA 5 times, a guy who was universally loved. That's the other thing that I don't think he really took into consideration or didn't give enough weight to, that the PR hit that you take here from your fan base, where you go and take a guy who was universally loved, who everybody thought was going to be around for at least another decade, that was the number one face of your franchise previously, Dirk Nowitzki, had just handed off the torch and anointed that you're the next guy. Didn't you stop to think, what is this going to do to our interaction with our community, our fan base, selling tickets, selling merchandise, goodwill and vibes, all of that out the window?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've talked about this and none of it has changed. Can I also go back to those defense wins championships? Actually, no. Yeah. In the NBA, defense and offense wins championships. You literally have to do both. Luka's automatic offense. You had a pretty good defense last year down the stretch.
It was very good down the stretch. After they made those don't forget, after they made those trades, Bill,
Yeah.
they won something like 18-6 or something ridiculous. And their defense was, I forgot where it was. I'd have to go and look at it, but it was, top 10 for sure. And you're right. Yeah. You couple that with Luka. You made the Western Conference.
What are you talking about?
Loaded West.
So this is why. So I was making some calls today. Actually, some people called me. And
first in defense after the trades. There you go.
Yeah, right. That's Nico takes the blame. Nico doesn't get a pass. Nico's the GM. There's no way that Nico Harrison woke up on his own and go. So, to what degree is it Dumont? And by the way, I sort of heard this, and I don't have it locked down. This is purely speculative. I'm not reporting anything, but this is reporting. Jason Kidd has a reputation for being, not my words, people who have worked with him, a backstabbing person that people don't trust. I mean, he didn't get along with people that brought him in New Jersey. He's gotten coaches fired his entire career. He went to Milwaukee, and as I understand it, had issues with Giannis at a certain point. And so I think it's worth noting that Jason Kidd, a guy who has had problems everywhere he's gone, and maybe he hasn't been the problem. Maybe he's been the solution. But everywhere he's gone, people have had to leave. There's had to be drastic change. And by the way, when the Nets, when they were in Jersey, wouldn't give him what he wanted, he hightailed it from Milwaukee. We don't have the reporting to say that it's his fault, but I think he's getting a bit of a pass here because that's a guy that's always had a reputation for this. And all of a sudden, Luka's gone. And remember, Luka kind of mean mugged him, I thought, in that first game. I don't feel bad for Nico, but I think there's probably a lot of blame. There's probably 2 or 3 people in that organization that had to have signed off on or pushed for this because it's such a, as you noted, for all the reasons you noted, it was such a ridiculously huge move.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of blame to go around. We can do a little bit more Dallas Mavericks organization Kremlinology on the other side and figure out where this broke down here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll pick this up on the other side, and then we'll also discuss what happens basketball-wise when the Mavs face the Grizzlies and also the Kings. They're out now. That's going to be an ugly offseason. And yes, there was another 9-10 matchup that we will get into. That's coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is Beyond the Arc. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please download, subscribe, leave a review. And then, of course, you can find us on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. Like button, hit the little bell symbol. You'll get notified when we go live. We're going to be doing a bunch of these during the playoffs. Yeah, so who's to blame? All that stuff. Like, I understand, like, they didn't want Luka to drink a beer or be European, have dad bod and whatever. All I know is that he's good at basketball. It's pretty evident to everybody. And it's certainly evident to the Lakers, who couldn't jump at that thing fast enough, but they don't have him now, Bill. Now the Mavericks are going to face the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have been reeling for a little while. They haven't beaten a team that made the playoffs proper since, forever. January, I think it was, something like that. But they were a team that was relevant, and they do have guard play. The Mavs don't have any. And by the way, the Mavs have a whole bunch of bigs that are back, but guess what? The Grizzlies have a great front court too. So at least on paper, I do not love this matchup for the Mavs, despite the fact that it's one game and anything can happen.
I mean, after Anthony Davis, Memphis have the next 3 best players on on the floor?
At least.
I mean, Bane, Triple J, and Ja added them. I know I keep bringing this up, but I'm just going to say, and you're right. Memphis is dysfunctional. Memphis is dysfunctional. Ja Morant, he's going to play, but he's obviously fragile. And we saw him hurt his ankle at the end of the game against the Warriors. They just fired their coach. They're still a top 10 offense and defense. They still have a superstar who can take over games. They're still capable of having really dynamic play. I know they haven't beaten anybody in a while. They're a markedly better basketball team than the Dallas Mavericks. It doesn't mean they're going to win the game, because you and I have gotten every play and prediction wrong, but the Warriors, we both have. It's hard to call. They keep going. But
I told Katie Mox when I was on with her, this is the reason why I don't bet, because I can't predict outcomes, certainly not in one game. We're going to do our 8 seed play-in preview along with the rest of our playoff previews and predictions on Friday when we're on the network, 1 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us for that. But one of these teams, Bill, between the Grizzlies and the Mavericks, is going home, and that is going to cap off a disastrous end to the season for one of them. I mean, and then even if you win, even if you go, okay, man, we did it, we made it in the playoffs, guess what? Your reward is Oklahoma City. And I certainly don't love that for the Mavs. That's a 4-game sweep for sure. I think it's probably 4 games and done for the Grizzlies. Maybe they steal 1 or 2.
I go 5.
Right. Yeah. Maybe they make it a
Right.
competitive series. I don't love that for them either, but I certainly don't love it for Dallas. But either way, one of these two teams is going home in disgrace, and it's going to be a really long offseason for either Memphis or Dallas. It already is, Bill, a very long offseason coming up for the Kings, who you and I were just on HQ. I don't know what they do here. This has been forever that they change the front office, they change the coaches. It's not good. It's an ownership thing with Vivek where, the last guy in his ear gets to make the decisions and none of them make the right decisions.
No, and we talked about this in HQ, and I brought it up on the pod, I think, when it happened. I had an executive who I trust and who's really in the know tell me after Malone and Booth got fired that the view was that Griff was the next one to go, and then maybe David Griffin in New Orleans, who was fired right a few days ago, and then Monte McNair. And so the sense out there is that the Kings are going to, and they're not even cleaning house. They're just going to change that guy, that sort of GM role and maybe the head coach. And we discussed this. None of it matters for the reason you just cited. They have a bad owner. That person doesn't have a vision. He is managed by the people who are around him. There's not an actual professional basketball operation in place that knows what it's doing and is allowed to just operate independently. And I think it's worth noting what the Kings have squandered, because help me here. Was it 2 years ago when they pushed the Warriors to a Game 7 and lost that series? I mean, that wasn't the same level of a Warriors team.
23, yeah. 2 years.
Yeah, but that was a fun basketball team. They were interesting. People were into that team. I mean, they couldn't push through. They didn't play a lot of defense, but they put in effort. That team, maybe not a championship team, but felt like they were on the verge of being relevant in the Western Conference. Relevant, right? Trending, and that's all been dismantled. And there's no the three guys they have now don't play defense. And you said this in HQ, they don't fit together.
Well, that's interesting, because back in 23, after that, Mike Brown looked at the thing and said, we got to change this. We got to change the way we play. We have to play better defense. Well, got bad news for the whole organization. Now they're worse offensively and they're just as bad defensively. Your three best guys, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Domantas Sabonis, don't fit together because none of them play defense. Your best defender is it's Keon Ellis. And outside of that, you really don't have anybody.
He might be your only defender.
Yeah, and so now whoever you bring in, forget about if you change out Monte McNair or whatever, whoever the person is making the decisions this offseason has to look at this thing and go, okay, we got to figure out what to do with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis, because we basically recreated Chicago West with, instead of Nick Vucevic, we've got Domantas Sabonis. And I was led to believe, Bill, when they changed Mike Brown, the whole narrative swirling around that thing was, oh, this is a Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox problem. If we unplug Mike Brown and bring in Doug Christie, and for a second that mattered, but De'Aaron Fox immediately went, nah, you know what? It wasn't really Mike Brown. I don't want to be here. I've seen this organization from the inside since I was a rookie, and it doesn't work for me. And please send me. He even said the only place he wanted to go was San Antonio because one, obviously 1B, and two, it's a well-run organization and has been forever. So I don't know how you fix it. It's just such a mess. Whoever you bring in,
you can't fix it.
I don't see this team being anything beyond just if you're lucky, fighting for the play-in again.
They're not going to be good enough to be a playing team. Not if Wembanyama is healthy. Because if Wembanyama is healthy, that's another.
Portland on the come up. Yep.
Yeah, Portland. By the way, can I just say this? And I don't know where you've fallen on DeMar DeRozan. He leaves Toronto. I know Kawhi came in. They win a championship. He doesn't work out in San Antonio. He goes to Chicago. They're not very good. He goes to the Kings. They fall apart. I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, if it's older. Oh yeah. Oh no. And I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's there for a minute, right? I think they're locked into these deals, and so how long does LaVine have left?
Contract situation?
Yeah, but it's a year. It's time. So, they're not up. So I don't know what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I like DeMar DeRozan as a closer. I like him as an instant bucket.
Yeah.
He doesn't shoot enough for me from three. He doesn't shoot well enough from three, and he doesn't really play defense. So he is what he is, and so is Zach LaVine. And I don't think any of those guys are necessarily winning players. They're certainly not winning players if they're the 1, 2, 3 players. It's a problem. One thing I want to mention before we go on to the other game. This game tonight was over for a while. There's the whole timeout situation in the NBA late in games. This is something that Sam Quinn flagged a while ago, where he's like, the end of games, especially when the margins are big, is there's too many timeouts between the TV timeouts and each team having 7 per half. Like at the end of the game, Dallas is up 20 in the fourth quarter of a 9-10 play-in game, and there's like 5 minutes left, and they call 2 timeouts within 5 minutes. One of them was to empty the bench. Fine. Before that, they call a timeout. What are we doing?
Oh, this isn't new. I mean, you're right, but this has been true for.
It's brutal.
I'm not. It's awful.
It's brutal.
And by the way, we're on the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast, and no one's actually staying up for this game, but if you're watching the Warriors game and you're trying to watch the Warriors game last night, and that's a great game, and you're on the East Coast and you're the NBA and you're trying to sell your. I mean, the Warriors are a product. They're a pull. The game's got to end earlier just because people have to go to sleep. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors with your products. I mean, this product is hard to watch, whether it was 12 minutes long or 20 hours long. This was a tough game to get through.
That was a bad game.
But you're right. The same logic applies to games that you do want to watch if you're an East Coaster.
By the way, to your question, DeMar DeRozan has 2 more years left at just under $25 million each per year. And then Zach LaVine next year has a player option. He's got next year left and then a player option after that at $47 and $48 million. Yeah, so he's definitely taking that player option. Ugh. You were saying that people on the East Coast couldn't stay up for bad basketball. Well, good news, people on the East Coast. The earlier game on the East Coast was also bad basketball, so at least you got to watch that between the Heat and the Bulls. Fair. You and I both were singing the praises of the Bulls because they had been playing well. They had been fun. Yeah. They had been good since the deadline. Naturally, they lost to the Heat, who just have their number in the play-in. Heat win this game. The only thing I can say is that you and I were on HQ prior to the game, and Kiana Martin, who does a great job for us, asked, what do you think needs to happen? And we were both like, Tyler Hero needs to have a massive game. And he did. He looked awesome tonight, Bill. At the very least, in a year that's been a bad year for the Heat, and who knows what's going to happen. Maybe they beat the Hawks. Maybe they don't. I don't think that they're going to do anything, even if they get out and they play the Cavs. But at the very least, this has been a good season for Tyler Hero, where they decided to hand him the keys, and they got to put people around him. But he's looked good.
I mean, you said before the game this guy couldn't be the guy, and I was with you on that too.
I said I haven't seen him be the guy. I haven't seen it.
Here's the thing. If you can play meaningful games against bad basketball teams, yeah, he can be the man. I mean, this is like Aaron just put up a graphic, right? The most points in a play. This is like winning the shortest person's the tallest shortest person's contest. This is me honest for being a tall guy. I don't know. I'm not going to overreact. They played a bad basketball team who doesn't play defense, and Tyler Hero's there. He is going to get smoked. He is going to get smoked going forward if they're playing meaningful games.
I just want to say, well, all I was saying about Tyler Hero for this season is it was his first All-Star appearance, right? And after they got rid of Jimmy Butler, he had to obviously take on more of the offensive load, and he was efficient doing it. I mean, he shot like 54% from the floor over the last month. He got to the line a ton and shot 95% there. I'm not saying that he's like the end of the world and like they found their next guy.
Fine.
He's been that's all I'm saying. He's been efficient. He's a scorer. I like the step forward that he's taken.
Somebody dropped I think it's Kiana dropped a stat that is 20, first player to score 24 more since LeBron. He's a okay player on a bad team. These guys won 37 games. They won 37 games. I mean, these guys won 37 or 38 games this year. This is a bad basketball team.
After Jimmy, even with this win against the Bulls, they're only 13-21 after they traded him from the deadline. So it wasn't like Tyler Hero was winning basketball games for them. He was just scoring the ball efficiently.
You could sub him out for Zach LaVine in an alternate universe, and we could be like, well, Zach LaVine had 30, and they beat the Bulls. Maybe. I mean, I hear you. I just think it's more about they're just playing a bad team.
Yeah. So we'll see what they do when they play the Atlanta Hawks in that 8-seed play-in game on Friday. Like I said, we're going to be back on CBS Sports Network on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us for our playoff previews and predictions. Do you want to do team of the night?
I mean, not really, but it's your decision. You decide.
I guess we'll do team of the night just like by virtue of like by default. By default, it's the Heat and the Mavs. They each get one, I guess. Maybe I'll give it to the Mavs just because they had so much swirling around them, and Nico Harrison did not help himself or the team. And like Anthony Davis played well tonight, and Klay Thompson played well tonight. And no, the Kings are not a good basketball team, but they've got one more shot at this thing.
I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were laughing their ass off because
Yes.
they get to either play this Miami Heat team or Trey Technical Young, and his Atlanta Hawks.
You said it on HQ that the Heat will go into that game thinking not only that they can beat the Atlanta Hawks, but they'll come out of it if they do beat the Hawks going, you know what? We're going to be the 8 seed that beats the 1. Heat culture. Tyler Hero's here. Bam Adebayo's got it. Davion Mitchell locking. I called out Davion Mitchell locking up Kobe White tonight on HQ, and you laughed and you went, man, what kind of game are we in where we're calling out? We're giving name checks to Davion Mitchell. This is where we are in the 9-10 game in Adam Silver's NBA. You know what? I like the play in general, but the 9-10 games were not great. All right. As I mentioned, we're back at it on CBS Sports Network on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Please come and join us. A huge playoff previews and prediction show for each of the first round series. We're going to cover it. It's going to be a big deep dive. We'll see you then. But for now, for our NBA insider Bill Ryder, I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.